Hello, welcome to JIBRIN ANGLE on Oweleke TV. Once again, we shall be discussing with our special guest, Barrister A.A. Manta, on the matters, everything surrounding the Israel-Hamas war or Israel-Palestinian war. He knows so much about it, and that's what we'll be talking about. This is a show, viewers, for those of you who are just joining us for the first time. This is a talk show, an interactive show. It's not an interview per se. It's a discussion, a show that engages on discussions back and forth, expressing our respective opinions. So that is it. For those of you who are just joining us for the first time, my name is JIBRIN, and we have been on this show from the beginning of this show with Barrister A.A. Manta, who is a legal practitioner with a very long number of years of legal pedigree, spans up for almost 40 years now. And so he is also a political analyst. You shall be getting basically all that from him this day. Welcome once again, Barrister Austin Manta.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us, always giving us this privilege to be on our show, creating time to be on our show at any time we call on you. Like as I said earlier, we shall be talking about Israel. I actually want to, the truth is, you and I, over the years, that we have discussed so many things, several issues, political, global, whatever. So on most of those stuff, I know where you stand, but I don't know, for whatever reason, we've not had any discussion around Israel issues or even the entire Middle East politics. So this is basically the first time that you and I will be engaged in such discussion. First and foremost, what is your opinion, before we go into the nitty-gritties of the Middle East politics? What is your opinion of what is happening between the Israelis and the Palestinians right now, in regard to the conflicts? I can't hear you.
Thank you very much,
Okay, I can hear you now.
Thank you very much, Jibril. You asked a question that can take days and days and days to really dissect properly. But let me say that in a nutshell, the Israeli-Palestinian or Israeli-Arab crisis has become an internal crisis, eternal, in the sense that apparently the parties have boxed themselves into a corner, and it's difficult to see how the issues can be resolved amicably between Israel and the Palestinians or Arabs. So it is not a new thing. We have had this kind of skirmish, some for a few days, some protracted. We have had wars between Israel and Hamas. We have had wars between Israel and Hezbollah. So it is a repetitive and continuous cycle of violence between them.
All right. Even though you evaded that question that I asked, I know definitely somehow you will eventually answer it. Now, can we go back to history of how it all started, why we are here with Israel, why Israel-Hamas situation is what it is today?
Well, you have to understand that the crisis has both historical, political, and religious dimensions.
Yes.
As long as one can remember, the Israelis or the Jews have existed in that territory, which was formerly called the Levant. The whole Middle East was formerly called the Levant. From the Bronze Age up to the conquest, it is at a junction of political, economic, trade, and religious discourse between the Jews, the Muslims, the Arabs, the Egyptians, the Phoenicians, the Romans, the Ottomans, and the British Empire. So there is a long history behind the crisis that we live with today. The problem is that a lot of commentators do not want to go into history for the purpose of properly analyzing the reasons that we are here today. In one sentence, I can tell you that, or I can walk from the solution to the problem instead of first starting with the problem and profiling the solution. So let me walk from the solution, walk backwards to the problem.
You're right.
A lot of people will tell you that if Israel will just allow a Palestinian state alongside with them, there will be peace in the Middle East. But that is intellectual dishonesty. Clearly, it's intellectual laziness, because they do not want to take time to dwell into history and bring up the problem, how the problem came to be. The solution will come when the Arabs and the Palestinians finally recognize and allow Israel to exist. That is the solution. We can work from this solution back to the problems and how we came to this place. But without that, one, recognition and agreement that Israel must exist or should exist in that place, there will be no solution to the conflict.
All right. Yeah, I think now you answered the question I asked. Since at least at this juncture, I know your opinion, what you have in mind. And incidentally, like I said earlier, we have not had, excuse me, this is very unusual though. We've had so many behind the scene, off camera, we've had so many discussions over the years regarding current affairs, global and local politics. For whatever reason, we never had this Israel or Middle East discussion. This is the first time. So I did not, until now, I didn't know your opinion of it. And incidentally, just like so many other stuff, your opinion seemed to align with what I actually have in mind. So like you said, Palestinians, the solution to Palestinian cause, or the Israeli-Palestinian debacle, is not in the Palestinian state. That is just the truth. Anyway, I'll be speaking more on this as we go. Now, can you tell us how we got to this place, to this point? What is okay, before I go into that, while of course, I suspect that what you'll be talking about is about the reality on ground. You're just being pragmatic, a sort of. While in my own case, I'll be coming in from a spiritual angle. That's why I said we'll be delving into that much later. Sort of. So back to the my question. Can you please give us at least a preamble on how we got here? Where at least starting from when Israel became, let's not go back to what happened during the Hitler when the Jews were wiped off. Let's start from the 1967 or whatever, when Israel eventually came back to where they are today, sort of. So then go up, move up to how we got to this point.
Yes, you can divide this program into two sectors, the modern one and the historical perspective. If you talk of the historical perspective from the time of the Israeli kingdom, then Judah and Israel, up to the dispersal, the Roman conquest, the Muslim conquest, and then up to the Ottoman conquest. One thing is clear, that the Jews have existed in this territory for millennia. There has never been a time that the Jews were totally absent from this land. It is called the land of Israel. Repeatedly, there has never been a time in history. That is very important, because you hear people say Israel has come and driven the Palestinians and taken their land. You hear phrases like the problem of the Israeli-Palestinian is occupation. But those people do not go forward to tell you what the occupation is about. So you have to know that the Jews have existed in this land for as long as, I'm talking historically now. Some people may choose to use religious views to back it up, but I am talking historically. The Jews have existed in this land for as long as one can remember. Now, coming to the modern period, that place was ruled by the Ottoman Empire. And before the Ottoman Empire, the Umayyad dynasty, they are the ones that built the Dome of the Rock. They are the ones that built the Al-Aqsa Mosque, which is also at the center of the crisis. They built the Al-Aqsa Mosque on the ruins of the Solomon's Temple. And then the Dome of the Rock, which people mistakenly think is a mosque, is actually not a mosque. It was built as a sign of Islamic supremacy, possibly to rival Christian monuments that were in the land. So after the Muslims captured Jerusalem, they saw Christian monuments, and they built the Dome of the Rock to rival it. If you talk of Christian, you talk of the Church of the Nativity, which was a very outstanding Christian monument. So they built the Dome of the Rock as a symbol of Islamic superiority. Now, when the Ottomans took over, in the aftermath of the defeat of the Ottomans in the First World War, the mandate for the territory fell to the British. Now, at this time, there were Jews there, there were Arabs. They had not yet been called Palestinians. They were Arabs. They came from different Arab countries, and they settled alongside their Jewish neighbors. They settled alongside their Jewish neighbors. They were not then called Palestinians, they were called Arabs. Now, when Britain took over from the Ottoman Empire, 17 years after that, precisely in 1936, the Arabs revolted against the British and against their Jewish neighbors. And the British government set up what they call the Peace Commission to find out the cause of the rebellion. And the Peace Commission came up with the fact that, well, the source of the problem is that two peoples, the Jews and the Arabs, wanted to govern the territory. So it recommended the partition of the territory. That's before the UN. Back in 1936, they recommended partition of the territory for Jews and for Arabs. And the portion they gave the Jews at that time was 20% of the land. And the Arabs were given 80% of the land. The Jews accepted the 20%, but the Arabs rejected it and continued with their rebellion. So Britain was forced to, on the creation of the United Nations, Britain was forced to hand over the mandate to the United Nations for them to take a decision. The United Nations also set up a commission, which also came to the conclusion that the land should be divided between the Jews and the Arabs. So in 1947, by Resolution 181 of the United Nations passed the resolution that two states should be created in the land, one for the Jews, one for the Arabs. Again, the Jews accepted and the Arabs rejected it. Now, this is the second opportunity for a two-state solution. People who are talking about two states will be the solution should listen carefully. The first opportunity I told you was when the Peace Commission recommended the partition and gave Israel 20%, gave the Arabs 80%, which they rejected. The second was the United Nations Resolution 181, partitioning the land between Israel and the Arabs. The Arabs rejected, the Jews accepted it and proclaimed their state the following year, that is 1948. The entire Arab countries, which were the most powerful countries at that time, Egypt, Jordan, Syria, Iraq, they all said that they will never allow the state of Israel to exist. They look at it as a very small place that they can easily overcome with their armies. I think about that time, Israel had just a military force of about 19,000 against all these powerful Arab countries. Surprisingly, they lost the war of 1948 woefully. Now, in the aftermath of that war, Gaza, East Jerusalem, and the West Bank were all administered by Jordan. Israel was not occupying this land. And also take note, when people are talking about the problem is occupation, take note, what do they mean by occupation? If it is occupation of East Jerusalem, West Bank, and Gaza Strip, there was a time that Israel was not occupying those things. So what happened? I'll give you an example. The Palestinian Liberation Organization was formed in 1964. At that time, Israel was not occupying or in control of East Jerusalem, in control of West Bank, in control of Gaza Strip. All these areas were controlled by Jordan. So why was there a necessity for the Palestinian Liberation Organization to be formed at that time? And what was their charter? Their charter was the destruction of Israel. So it was not about East Jerusalem, it was not about Gaza, it was not about the West Bank. It was the destruction of the territory that Israel had under the United Nations resolution. So fast forward to about 20 years after that, 1967, when the Arab countries again felt powerful enough to attack and destroy the state of Israel. They launched what has come to be known as the Six-Day War against Israel. And again, they were roundly defeated. But a very popular refrain, which is part of the propaganda, has arisen from the Palestinians. They call it Nakba. The Nakba in Arabic, they mean the tragedy. And they refer to it as the tragedy of the expulsion of Palestinians from the Arab lands. That's what they term it. But let me go back to 1948 war. When the nation state of Israel was created, and the powerful Arab countries look at it as a small entity that they could easily overrun. There were about 750,000 Arabs in that portion held by Israel. Now, the Arab countries, both on air and in pamphlet, told the Arabs that were in the Israel portion to leave. And they broadcast that anybody, they are coming to destroy this place, anybody they meet there, any Arab they meet there, will be deemed a collaborator with Israel. So they encourage them to leave so that they will not be caught in the crossfire. And most of these Arabs left so that they will not be caught in the crossfire between the Jews and the Arabs. If you read Golda Meir's memoirs, he said that in Haifa alone, there were over 700,000 Arabs. Based on this campaign by the Arab countries that the Arabs there should leave, all of them left except about 60,000. Ben-Gurion, who is regarded as the father of Israel, sent Golda Meir to Haifa to try to assure protection to the Arabs. Even the Haganah, the Israeli paramilitary organization, went into all these places to try to talk to the Arabs not to leave, that they will be protected. But they were looking at the powerful armies of powerful Arab countries arrayed against this small entity. So they left, most of them on their own, most of them fearing the consequences of remaining, and still others fearing being caught in the crossfire. But today, what do we have in terms of propaganda? All you hear is that Israel came and expelled the Palestinians from their lands. So if you want to look at it very well, you go back and see the reason why most of these Palestinians left. Well, you can blame Israel and say, well, after the war, why didn't Israel bring them back? But that's a different issue. But the 1967 war came, and that was the first time the Israeli government, after the defeat of the Arab countries, took over the Gaza Strip, the West Bank, and East Jerusalem.
East Jerusalem.
They had never had control over them before. And at that time, there was division in the Israeli government. Some of them wanted the return of this land for peace. That's East Jerusalem, West Bank, and Gaza. They returned these lands to Arabs for peace. Others said they wanted Jordan to take over and rule these places. But that was the first time Israel took sovereignty over or control over East Jerusalem, West Bank, and Gaza Strip. Now, in 2000, before that, in 1973, again, the Arabs felt powerful enough. I remember that almost every generation of new leaders, just like it is happening now, young people who do not even know how the war was fought then, who just come with sentiment that the Arabs are plenty, we can deal with this small entity. And again, back in 1947, there were about 400 million Muslims. So the Arab countries, in trying to persuade the Arab population of Israel to immigrate, they say, look, we got your back. We are coming for you. 400 million Muslims and our Arab armies are going to secure you. So you can see the confusion in the minds of the Arabs that were in that portion. So you fast forward to 1973 war. Again, the Arab countries lost. Efforts to bring peace. It was then that this issue of two states started coming up. In 2000, Israel Prime Minister Ehud Barak met at Camp David with Clinton, and they offered the Palestinians a state of their own with East Jerusalem as its capital. And 94% of the West Bank and the whole of Gaza. I hope you got that point.
Yes.
They offered the Palestinians a state of their own with East Jerusalem as its capital, 94% of the West Bank and the whole of Gaza. The Palestinians rejected it. In the words of Clinton, Bill Clinton, he said, I'm quoting, Arafat, Yasser Arafat was the PLO chairman then. Yasser Arafat was here for 14 days and said no to every single thing. So you see, these territories have been offered to them before, but nothing happened. Again, in 2008, another Israeli prime minister, this time Ehud Olmert, not Ehud Barak again, Ehud Olmert, went further to add more land to what his predecessor has added for a viable Palestinian state. Again, the Palestinians rejected it soundly. In between, they embarked on a campaign of massive bombings, suicide bombings in buses, in caves, in clubs, everywhere in Israel. On its own, the Israeli government pulled out of Gaza in the hope that it will become the nucleus of the Palestinian state. They will start governing themselves and things will go over there. But what happened? Hamas was formed in 2006 with its charter calling for the destruction of Israel. So they are not interested in having a state alongside Israel. That's not their issue. Because if you see the maps of the Arab states, both from the PLO, from the Islamic Jihad, from the Hamas, if you see their map, the map includes the whole territory of Israel, from the River Jordan to the Mediterranean Sea. And in their charter, they regard the Palestinian state as the whole of the area, including the area occupied by Israel. So you can see where I stated the solution that until they come to the realization and agree that Israel will exist in that place, there can be no solution to the problem. The problem is not a state, Palestinian state, alongside Israel. If you see now, other Arab countries like Saudi Arabia, they have been proposing of late that Israel should retreat to its 1967 borders and the rest of the land should be turned into a Palestinian state. Now, the question with that is that both under international law and under common sense. When you fight a war with somebody, the war is ended by an amnesty, by a treaty. I cannot fight a war with you and defeat you, and you are the ones to determine the terms of the settlement. There must be a negotiation for us to sign a treaty ending our war. The aftermath of the 1967 war and 1973 war, you can see that Egypt signed an accord with Israel, based on which Israel returned the Sinai Peninsula to Egypt. Syria, up to today as we speak, there's a state of war between Israel and Syria because Syria refused to sign a treaty in the aftermath of the defeat. And because of that, Israel cannot return the Golan Heights, which was captured from Syria in the 1967 war. So the issue that when people see death, a lot of people dying, they look at who is causing the death. And most of the time, more deaths are caused by Israel because the Islamic Jihad, the Hamas, or before them, the PLO will come and either hijack, kill Israeli citizens in suicide bombing, or as happened on 7th of October by Hamas. And Israel will be forced to react. Now go to Gaza. Everybody is talking about Gaza is an open prison, but they are not saying why it is an open prison. When Israel withdrew from Gaza, all the crossings, about 6 crossings, 4 of them were left open. But what happened? Hamas was using them to infiltrate into Israel, carry out suicide bombings, and all manner of rockets. So they had to close those openings and man them. There has been international donors. Even the US donates every year to Palestine. Qatar is the one funding Hamas. Its principal officers, they are comfortably residing in Qatar. All the Arab countries fund Hamas financially. But what does Hamas do with the money? They use it to dig tunnels. At the last estimate, there are about 500 kilometers of underground tunnels in Gaza, a very small territory of about 25 kilometers by 10. You have about 500 kilometers of underground, deep underground tunnels with electricity, with water piped in, with command centers, with detention centers, with meeting rooms. I'm talking of things that are over sometimes 40 feet deep in the ground. On top, on the surface, the people have no water. I said water is brought in. They use generators. The population is suffering, but it doesn't bother Hamas. They use it as a bait. And the more people are killed there, the more they use it as propaganda against Israel. So coming back to the solution, unless the Arabs agree that yes, we agree that Israel should exist there can be no peace. Because Israel is such a powerful country now, and with such powerful allies, that to uproot them from that place may lead to a possible third world war.
All right. Now, you've said so much, and you've even enlightened me as well. And I hope our viewers are enlightened as to what you have said so much, all you have said. My question is this, Barrister. All you have said is just, they are all history, and they are all written, they are all in print. They are there for everyone to read, including the global leaders. They are aware of all these things. They know the history. They know all the attempts for Israel to make peace. All the attempts by Israel to pacify even the Palestinians or the Arab nations. Just as you stated, on three different occasions, they offered them this offer. They gave them this. They made these offers to them, and they rejected it. Yet, our global leaders are aware of it. United Nations, as you know, is overwhelmingly against Israel. Can you tell us why? Because I think there is this angle, the propaganda from the media, which is really skewed in one direction, heavily skewed in one direction. And that is the direction of this propaganda I'm talking about, propaganda of lies, propaganda of distortion of the truths and the facts. And that is why, like you said earlier, most the younger generations they don't because of this propaganda. Of course, that's the propaganda everyone hears or listens to, because that is what they see and hear every day. So they don't know the nitty-gritty, the facts of the matter. As such, they are sentimental, they are emotional about it, they are spiritual about it, they are just overly sensitive about what is happening on the ground against Israel. So what is the reason behind this propaganda of lies and distortion of the reality on ground, the distortion of the truth or the facts? Is sort of what is the point? Because it's the global leadership, the global leaders are overwhelmingly against Israel. Up to even recently, in fact, I've never seen a United Nations. It is unprecedented what this current present United Nations chief said against Israel. This is the first time in the history of that body where a United Nations chief will publicly, he didn't declare support for Hamas, but publicly made a comment, a statement that obviously portrays him as siding with Hamas, a terrorist organization. Can you please tell me why all these enemies from the left, right, and center against Israel? Just like you pointed out, a very, very pinchomic nation. If you look at it from the map, in fact, it's almost lost. It's almost impossible for you to even be able to trace Israel on the map when you try to trace, because it's so tiny as to, excuse me, in comparison to with other nations around it. So can you please tell me why all the entire global powers that be are literally, they're not even hiding it anymore against this tiny nation?
Yes, that can be explained from two angles. One, anti-Semitism, and two, the Western greed for Arab money. So let's take the anti-Semitism first. Throughout history, right from the dispersal of the Jews, and anybody who wants to be sincere and dishonest, who wants to be sincere and not dishonest in talking about the territory that is under dispute now, they should ask themselves, where do the Jews come from? Because in every nation, from Africa to Europe to North America to South America to the Arab countries themselves, the Jews are there, right from the dispersal. They have held tightly onto their language. They have held tightly onto their culture. They pray towards Jerusalem, wherever they are. Now, is it possible for a people to be found throughout the world with the same language, the same culture, and praying towards Jerusalem, if all of them did not come from the same place? It's not possible. That alone should prove to people the dispersal of the Jews in 678 by the Romans. Now, that dispersal, it does not mean that all the Jews were sent away. There were still Jews there. At every point in time, there were Jews. Now, when the Jews dispersed throughout the world, one thing that can be given to the Jews is their ingenuity and their love of money. That is not to say other people do not love money, but they have a special, love for money, for business, for excellence. Mm-hmm. And whenever a people do not assimilate in a place that they come in contact with, they retain their culture, they retain their community, and they are doing well, there's bound to be sentiment. Yeah. There's bound to be hate by the indigenous population. I can even talk about the Igbos in Nigeria. Yeah. It's something equivalent. You're right. So the Jews were hated throughout Europe. And when you hate somebody, whenever you have problem, it's easy to say our problem is caused by social people. So throughout Europe, they came to put their problems at the hands of the Jews. Every country that had problem, they blame it on the Jews, culminating in what Hitler came and said he wanted a final solution to the Jewish problem. Hitler was talking, he was not isolated. It was a sentiment that was shared by many Europeans, although the extreme nature of his solution may have pricked the conscience of others. But throughout Europe, the Jewish problem was recognized. It was easy to blame them in the financial, if the financial sector collapsed, they'll blame the Jews. Whatever happened, they'll blame the Jews. So anti-Semitism has been there in America, in Britain, in all European countries. In modern times, there has been a
Okay. Sorry, viewers. There's Austin Manta's
to cover it up.
Okay.
But it has anything that comes up, the anti-Semitism come up to the surface. Deep, it's just like the situation of they have that kind of problem. So the anti-Semitism is always there, lurking under the surface, waiting for a spark to show itself. So that propaganda that has taken over the world, they say the problem of the Middle East, the problem of Israel Empire is occupation. Nobody asks occupation of what? Nobody wants to ask, what is the occupation that you are talking about? Nobody is asking that. Now, the second issue is the greed, the Western greed for Arab money. You know, the Arab countries are very rich. They have a lot of money. Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Oman, UAE, all these countries are very rich in fossil fuel and this thing. And over time, the Western countries, forget that the Western countries are the most hypocritical and dishonest society.
Absolutely.
Whenever they see people progressing, they want to amortize their wealth. And that is what they have been trying for a long time, to corner the weight of the Arab countries. They encourage them. If you go to Saudi Arabia today, virtually all the companies doing business, doing construction, doing everything in Saudi are from the West. So they are getting, the economy is being helped, the Western economy is being helped by the Arab money. and that has grown over. Arab populations flock to the West. If somebody is sensible, you ask, if there's a problem in Syria, in Lebanon, why are these people not, why are these immigrants not going to Saudi Arabia, which is richer per capita than the US? Why are they not going to Qatar? Why are they not going to Oman? Why do they want to come to the West? But nobody is prepared to, they are not bothered. They want to maintain or to be in the good books of these Arab countries. So it does not take them long. Both the media, which is liberal, and other liberal politicians, they fit into this narrative, and they propagate and help to carry forward this propaganda against Israel. So these are the two sources of where the propaganda and the hatred is coming from.
Well, thank you so much, Barrister, for really enlightening us. Let me bring it in from the spiritual angle. So now you just noted two key things, and you can never be more right. So that is just the truth. You are correct. Envy and wealth. I think envy, the first one, actually is the foundation of it all. Because it is when someone, when two enemies, when they say the enemy of my enemy is my friend, when two enemies come together to fight against a common enemy, who is also, a common enemy, it is the negative sentiment that the enemies have against the common enemy that brings them together to actually fight against that common enemy. I hope I've not confused someone. What I'm trying to say is this. For wealth to be an attraction, to the West, it obviously started from somewhere. There was a foundation to that wealth being an attraction. Before we came on air, I remember we talked about this issue of corruption, corrupt lawyers, who, and I was talking about how decent, how responsible you have been, very sincere and truthful. And that's why over the years, we have been together. You have been a very, very straight and transparent lawyer, a lawyer who says it the way it is, who always gives advice to his clients, regardless of his interest. Most times you give advice to me in particular as my lawyer for over 15 years now, that are advices that are detrimental to your interest, sort of. And I was saying, we're talking about something, I was saying, you brought up issue, and I told you because it is not in your DNA, and you brought up an issue. You said, when the first time, the moment you give this advice, after you have given this advice, you realize, this is even in my own, against my interest, but I have given it, yet you give this advice. I said, because that is what whatever it's embedded in you, it's a nature, it's in your DNA to always do the right thing. So when when a situation comes calling, the first thing that spurs out of you, it's impulsive. It is definitely, it's an impulsive thing. It spurs out of you. The first point of action is that thing that is embedded in your DNA, that is doing the right thing, telling the truth, being sincere. As against someone who is already corrupted in his heart, the moment there is a situation like that, the first thing that comes up is a corrupt thought. How am I going to, what is my interest? What's going to be my interest in this situation right now? Based on that premise, the person would eventually give out an advice that will be in his or her own interest, personal interest. So that is the same thing that is playing out in the Middle East. Now, the West, like I said, envy is just the foundation. It is when you have a personal animosity against someone that you'll be so open, so not even just open, you'll be so susceptible, so sensitive to fight against that person, unite with someone else to fight against that person. So, and that is just the truth. The foundation, the Bible says, when the foundation is faulty, if the foundation is faulty, what can the righteous do? Nothing. It's nothing. So the foundation, when a foundation is faulty, the foundation of this hatred is envy. The foundation of what is going on against the Jews, against Israel, is envy. It is because of, as a result of that envy, the West can now say, okay, after all, we even hate these people, say we envy them. They are this, they are that, they are so prosperous, they are so whatever, everything they touch is just prosper. Everything they touch, whatever, where other people failed, they go there in and succeed. Sort of. So the envy is there. After all, we hate them. Okay, our Arab friends and neighbors, what can we get from you? Okay, give us this, give us that. We'll support you. We'll support you against these people. And that is just it. Now, on the spiritual angle again, you don't envy someone that is empty. Now, the Almighty God is our creator, our father. So it's just like in a family where you have a father or a king with so many children. Obviously, we say whichever child that the father or the king favors in his decisions, in his actions, every other child will envy that child. All other child will probably, that particular child that is favored by the father will be the focus of animosity, hatred, envy, jealousy, acrimony, rancor. That is just the truth. So all these things happening to Israel, it has spiritual connotation, spiritual foundation, spiritual connotation. Remember, and just like I said, God, all the Almighty God is our Father, and of course, everybody knows it. Everybody knows from the Bible that God chose Israel, made Israel and Israelites, the Jews, as his favorite. And that is just it. And that's where the envy started from. And the envy started from Ishmael and Jacob, between Ishmael and Jacob. And that is just it. The same father, both of them have the same father, Abraham, but because one was favored over the other, envy. And that's just it. That's the foundation. The foundation is envy. And as you said, I don't know if you really said that, but by what I deduced is you alluded to the fact that we may never ever have solution to the Israeli-Palestinian issues. Honestly, my own is not may. There will never be solution to that. Never, ever. There has never been any solution to the envy from siblings to a favored sibling, to one favored sibling in the family. There has never been solution because that envy will be there, that jealousy will be there. They will in fact, that is just the truth. There will never be a solution. All these things are divine. They are natural, and in some cases they are divine. It's a perpetual, it's a conflict in perpetuity. There is never a solution to it. There will never be. And so unfortunately, it will continue that way. It's about envy. The envy is the foundation of this envy predated. It started from their father, Abraham. And that's just it, from when they were giving birth to Isaac and Jacob, and Ishmael. So that is the foundation. It's unfortunate that it will continue that way. And usually the star always darkness. The star always attracts darkness. What I mean by that is wherever you see a star in a darkness, if you see a spot of star, every darkness, every area, every dark area of around that star focuses on that star. Why? Because the star, as small as it may be, the entire darkness focuses, and that is why even in the midst of so broad darkness, that single star, the moment you take a look at any dark area, the first thing that attracts you in a particular dark spot or dark area is that star. And that's just what is happening. I don't know why people are just fighting God. Now, to our Muslim friends, the thing is, the Muslims, some of them they understand, they are learned, they are sincerely learned. Some of them are learned, but they are not sincere. They are full of sentiments and personal animosity against the Jews. So that has beclouded their sense of reasoning. Otherwise, if you are a Muslim, to my Muslim audience or friends, if you are watching this clip, you ask yourself this question. You say we are worshiping the same God. The being that you refer to as Allah. Now, if you say we are worshiping the same God, this same God made our father Abraham. We all have the same. We are from this. We are descendants of Abraham, the Isaac generation and the Ishmael generation. So these two generations will belong to the same God. And this same God that you call him Allah, the being that you refer to as Allah, decided to say, okay, this one, I give it to this person. And you can take that. Why do you have to fight against someone that is innocent of the Israelites? They were not the one who asked God to choose them, the Jews. God, in his infinite mercy and will, chose, just like every other father, every other king, a particular child will just find favor in the sight of a certain a king or a father. The same thing, Israel found favor not because they are righteous. Of course, go through history. Israel is not even one of, is the most stiff-necked, stubborn, disobedient children of God. That is not the truth. But at the same time, God did not see that his mercy covers all those stuff. He yet chose them as his favorite. And he has never repented from that. He has never changed from that. It's an eternal thing. And why people, especially people like Muslims, would say the Old Testament, we have the same interpretation. It's not the same interpretation, but the same history of the whole Old Testament. With both Christians and Muslims, they have the same. It's the same. Old Testament is the same thing. We believe just as Christians and Muslims, just as Christians, Muslims believe Abraham is our descendant. They believe he gave birth to Isaac and the Ishmael, a sort of. So we have this common history. We have this common history of coming from the same roots. So I don't understand why we cannot just accept our faith. What is your problem? Now, the issue of envy in a family. Other siblings envy the favorite child of the parents for most times for one reason. You see, most times you see that particular child favored by his parents, that particular favored child prospers or has better resources, has more prosperity than the rest. As such, the rest will envy. That's understandable. But in that case, that would have been understandable. It's okay, that favored child is more prosperous than the other or than the rest. But in this case, between the Israelis and the Arabs, the reverse is the case. The Arabs are stupendously rich, so prosperous, that just like you noted earlier, the entire West is also focused on their wealth because they are rich. They are richer than the entire West. That's the truth. These guys, like in Saudi and some of these Arab nations, I don't think there is any family that a real citizen or a citizen of a nation, a country, or an indigene of a certain community. I don't think there is any poor. There is any family that can be referred to as poor in these nations, especially Saudi and some other UAE and some other Arab nations. That's how much these guys are so stupendously blessed. So what is their problem? Why do they? Israel is why you have the prosperity. Why the envy? You already have the prosperity. This same prosperity. God, even when I remember when God was sending Ishmael away, He sent Ishmael away and that's why they are prosperous. Sent Ishmael away with prosperity, and I commanded that Ishmael will prosper, his descendants will prosper. And that was why when Jacob, Esau was envious and angry, was not only angry at Jacob when he shortchanged him, when he swindled him, he was envious of him. But what happened after so many years that Jacob and Esau eventually met, when Jacob was afraid that Esau will lynch him to death after so many years, because he just felt that this guy is still, that envy, grudge is still there, waiting for him to kill him or whatever. So he felt that. But what happened when Esau eventually met Jacob? Because Esau has become so prosperous as well. He has his own money. He has his own wealth. So when he met Jacob, Jacob was so afraid or whatever. And when he noticed that, he noticed that Jacob said, "What's your problem? I've forgotten about all those things." And when Jacob sent a whole lot of gifts, before he met Esau, he sent so many gifts ahead of him, sent his servant and said, "Take these gifts, all these sheep, all these sheep, all these gifts, golds or whatever, take it to my brother ahead of me. Don't use that to pacify him, so that his anger will be pacified before I meet with him physically, so that there will not be any danger against me." What happened? When Esau saw all those gifts or whatever, and they told him who sent all those gifts, he probably smiled and said, "What's your problem? Go and call my brother. I don't need all these things. I have my own wealth. I don't need all this. And besides, I'm not even angry at him anymore." That was exactly. They sent the message to him or whatever. So Jacob became free to beat. He eventually said, "Look, I don't need all those things. I have my own wealth. And besides, I'm no more angry at you. Why would I be angry at you when I have my own prosperity? Just as you have prospered, I've prospered too." So what is it? What is the that is the point? That is my point now. Why are these people still why are these people still bent on wiping off the? What is the problem? The Jews are prosperous, the Jews are whatever. The Jews are prosperous, they are innovative, they are creative, they are everything or whatever. The Arabs though are prosperous. What is their problem? Why can't they allow these guys be? Why can't they succumb to God's will? They claim that Allah is the same God that we are serving, the same Almighty God. If that truly, if it is your claim, if you're a Muslim, you are watching this, or you're watching this clip. If you claim that and agree sincerely inside of you that the Allah you call God is the same God that we serve, the same God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, then you should submit to his will. Submit to his will, submit to his command, submit to his choice of the way. The Bible says in the book of John, say, I will have mercy upon whom I will have mercy on. And I'll have compassion upon whom I will have compassion on. That is God. He is the potter. We are the clay. He chooses whatever he wills. He chooses whosoever he wills. And there's nothing anyone can do about it. And that is just it. Even though he chose Israel, the Jews, it has not stopped, it has not deprived the Arabs from prospering. So honestly, this whole thing is just a crazy stuff. I think it's a spiritual stuff because Israel and Jerusalem, to be precise, is a symbol of the leadership of our Lord Jesus Christ in his second coming after the rapture. And that is the point. It's also, it has to do, it's not all this envy and jealousy or whatever, because I've never, no, let me tell you one thing. There is no sibling, no brother or sister will envy me. For instance, I'm using me as an example. No brother or sister will envy me, even after they too are so prosperous. And maybe prosperous, more prosperous than me. Nobody will envy you. You can't. The moment you have siblings in a family, everybody is so prosperous. Where will the envy come from? There will be no envy. So that is why you people, I expect people to just see this as a spiritual stuff. It is more of spiritual stuff than reality. That's just the truth. There is spiritual connotation to it, a spiritual background to it, or whatever, because it doesn't make sense for a rich brother to envy a fellow rich brother. It doesn't make sense. Or a rich sister to envy a rich sister. Envy comes as a result of the other one, where the channel of envy is deprived of one, or sorry, is falls short of some privileges, natural privileges. And that is where envy comes up. So honestly, it will never end. It is an eternal thing. It will be there until our Lord Jesus Christ. And that's why the problem there is the center of attraction is that Jerusalem. The fight in this whole thing is on the city of Jerusalem, because that is where our Lord Jesus Christ will be ruling from. And this thing is a battle between the light and darkness. It's a battle between the devil and the kingdom of God. And the devil, the global elites and the people that are on the side of the Arabs are basically the tools of the devil. That's just the only way one can interpret it. Because if one is fighting against the Jews, you are basically, not just basically, completely, absolutely fighting against God. Because the same Bible in the book of Numbers said, whoever loves Israel, God I will love. Whoever blesses Israel will be blessed. And whoever curses Israel shall be cursed. So I'm paraphrasing now, I'm not quoting, but that's what the scripture says. So it is just a battle between the devil and God. And that is just it. And everybody knows the answer to this battle. At the end of the day, who will win? Of course, light will always win. Light has always won, will always win. And Jesus Christ represents that light. And that is just the truth. It's just it. Unfortunately, there's nothing. In fact, I feel pained when I hear pastors. When I hear, so you know that even some I've had pastors. Some of them have visited including one of my pastors in my local assembly, who not really supporting Hamas, but there was a time, there was a policy that during Donald Trump presidency, because everybody knows his choice. It was the one who actually made who supported that. He took some unprecedented steps and decisions that no United States president ever took. a sort of. Every other United States president, they shied away from it. During campaign, they will always promise that they will move Jerusalem. They will move the capital of Jerusalem, U.S. embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. They campaigned literally almost all the presidents, past presidents, they campaigned on that. But immediately they got to power, they could not do that because the powers that be, there was intense and immense pressure on them not to, and they chickened out. Only Donald Trump, the strongest president in my own judgment that I've ever experienced. Well, I remember when he was about to decide on that, the entire world, the global elites went haywire. They threatened hell and brimstone. The Middle East, if you dare do this, the Middle East will be turned into rebels, and there will be fire all over the places, blah, 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 blah. That man can never, it can never be stronger. Honestly, that man was a strong person and is still a strong person. He was the one who made the unprecedented, who took that unprecedented step and decision to move U.S. embassy from Tel Aviv to, and that is to Jerusalem. And that brings me to the point that this thing will never have a solution to it. There will continue to be this problem because the focus is not just the Jews. The focus is Jerusalem, the city of Jerusalem. The focus is our Lord Jesus Christ, who will be ruling, coming back. And you know, they know that. Of course, the Muslims and Muslims friends and brothers, they know, they are aware, they know that Jesus Christ, they believe that Jesus Christ is coming back. It's in the Quran. And so they know he's coming back. And they know what he's coming back to do. They know where he's coming back to rule from. And so that is just the truth. So it's so unfortunate that we are not seeing it this way. So sad. And just like you said earlier, two-state solution. Nobody, no country is coming back to natural stuff. I'm moving away from spiritual. Nobody, no country in its right senses will want to give Palestine, as it stands today, an independent, a sovereign state. It will not be possible. Look, Israel will never. And if I were in their shoes, I would do the same thing. Why? Because just like you have taken us back memory lane, back history lane, reminded us of the history of where this thing started from, how it started, why. We all know that even if these people are given a nation, an independent nation, that will never assuage them, that will never pacify them, because the goal is elimination of Israel. Whether they even if they give them the entire land of Israel, the elimination, their intention is to wipe them off the map. Why? Again, it brings me to the spiritual angle of it. They are only dictating, they are only acting on the dictation of their master, the devil. And that is just the truth. So Israel will never, and I don't even expect them to even, this issue of two states, there are two-state solution. That is never a solution. There is no, people should understand that there is no solution. There will never be a solution to that problem, that Middle East debacle with Israel. Not. It's an eternal problem. It will remain that way. And look, God knew it. God saw it this way. God knew he is the author and finisher of everything, his creation. He knows everything. He's all-knowing. He's omnipotent, omniscient, omnipresent. He knows everything. And that is why, what makes you think that Israel can be defeated? Sorry. Under normal circumstances, you should ask yourself, why is Israel not defeated? This is a very small nation, a very small country, very pinchomic country. It's just like a dot in a cycle. when it comes to when you go to the map to actually trace Israel, just like a dot on a cycle. That is just it. What makes you think this is a country that 5 nations ganged up to fight against? Like you mentioned, the powers that be the Iran, Iraq, Egypt, Jordan, Syria. These are the 5 nations, the most powerful nations then. And the Arab, not even, not jumping in the Arab. Egypt was the most powerful then, those days, before the US and China, all those people, or Russia came up, whatever. Then look at, you can imagine 5 of the most powerful nations then ganged up to fight this little pinchomic nation, and they were all defeated flatly in 6 days. And people think these things are just natural. No, they are not. It is the same God, that same God that have fought for them all through in the Old Testament. It's the same God that is still fighting for them. I don't know why people fail to see God in this fight. It is because what is happening with Israel is just supernatural. It is not a natural thing. You cannot find this little nation just surrounded by enemies, all left, right, and center. Up, down, left, right, back, front. Enemies. These are not just common enemies. They are not just mere enemies. They are gigantic enemies. Enemies with enormous powers. Yet they cannot, none of them to put together the entire enemy, and the entire conglomerate of enemies has not been able to put down this pinchomic country. People should, I don't know why, it's just like what happened with in the case of Israel, Egypt and Israel, when God was liberating the Israelites from Egypt. What happened? Now, Pharaoh was with his army, they were chasing Israelites, the Jews. And they got to Red Sea. They parted Red Sea through Moses. God parted Red Sea through Moses. And look at, I don't understand how people, and that's exactly what is happening today. The same replica is happening today. You see something happen supernaturally. You have, after so many signs that God has shown to you that, look, I'm involved in this matter. Stay off these people's life. You ignored all those miracles and still saw this last miracle. You see the sea being parted two ways. Parted in the middle. You saw it yourself. See, you saw the entire sea parted. That did not ring a bell to you. It didn't open your eyes. You still went ahead to chase these people. You chased it even when you saw the sea caving. You were still chasing them. Until what happened? What eventually happened to the entire Pharaoh and his armies? They were consumed. These people saw it. A sensible person who probably is not beclouded by intense and irredeemable animosity and hatred for someone. The moment you see that sign, all you will do is, God is fighting for this war. And they go back. Probably their lives could have been saved. And that's exactly what is happening today again. There are so many signs riddled around Israel that points to the fact that God is involved in these people's life, in these people's defense. Yet, they still keep fighting them. The more you kill these people, the more they spread. They killed millions of them. Millions. During the Hitler killed millions of them. And thinking that they will be wiped off the earth. You have Jews all over the place. The more you kill it, if you kill one Jew, 10 you are multiplying 10 somewhere else. They're just multiplying. Pharaoh tried it. Pharaoh tried it in his time, killing Jews. It didn't work. It didn't work then. It has not worked in our generation, and it will never work. The earlier people begin to see this, as a God's fight, at God's battle, the better for them. Unfortunately, they will not see it that way. It will happen just like it happened to Pharaoh, to eventually happen that way. And Israel will continue to defend itself. There's no that look. Sometimes when I watch all these clips of Palestinian children, I see Palestinian children sometimes being pulled out of rubble, some of them still alive. Some of these kids crying helplessly. It touches my heart. Sometimes you see tears in my eyes. Tears. I feel for these kids. Unfortunately, the adults, the leaders of these countries are indoctrinating these kids. You know what they teach them in school is they teach them how to hate. They groom them hating Israel, to hate Israel, to hate the Jews. A sort of. Honestly, I feel for these children because they are innocent. They are so innocent. I'm not happy. I don't feel happy when I see them watch them on the news, being bombarded, see the children, how the children, the whole stuff affects the children. It pains me a lot. It pains me a lot. A sort of. But the problem is the parents of these children, the leaders of these countries, they are the ones, they are to be held responsible for this. So that is just it. Barrister, like I said, you have taken it from the pragmatic angle. I told you, I pointed earlier that I will bring it from the spiritual angle. And the spiritual angle, like as it says, the spiritual rules the physical. I don't know if you have that mentality as well, that thought. That is the way nothing happens under the sun that does not have spiritual connotation. Anything that is happening today, it has happened in the spirit before it manifested in the spirit. It has been seen in the spirit. It has been drawn and acted out, played out in the spirit before it manifested physically. And so that is just it. So the case of Israel, the situation that Israel has found themselves is, unfortunately, it has come to stay until Jesus Christ comes back to take over a sort of unfortunately, the entire world, even the world, they will eventually gang up. That is by going by the biblical prophecies. They eventually gang up against Israel, literally to fight Israel. A sort of. That is when what we call the War of Armageddon. War of Armageddon will eventually take place, where with China, everybody will just gang up. At that point where US has fallen, because US will fall. US will fall. And the signs are there already. The signs are there. US will fall. China will eventually take over. They will all gang up, including Russia. They will gang up to fight against Israel. And unfortunately, they will eventually overpower Israel. And that is when Jesus Christ, that's when the second coming of our Lord Jesus Christ will take place. A sort of anytime I remember that prophecy, I feel bad because I dread to see to experience the defeat of Israel in my lifetime. I dread it. Honestly, I don't like, but sometimes I don't say, okay, well, it's biblical prophecy. That's the way God has designed it. We can't run away from that. But even at that, I don't even intend to be alive to see that, even though I still believe that we are still coming back of our Lord Jesus Christ is around the corner, sort of. But there's one thing that we are still waiting for it, and that is the temple. That temple is not yet to be built. The entire building apparatus, the entire building materials, everything is ready. Everything, up to the least material that is be used to build that temple, they are all ready. The moment that temple is built, that is when the whole katakata will start. So that is just it. It's in the book of Daniel. It's in the book of Ezekiel. The prophecy is there. Everything that have been prophesied, all the whatever, they have the prophecies of the scriptures that have happened. The ones that were supposed to happen have taken place. They have happened. The ones that are yet to happen, we are already seeing the signs. So, and that is just the truth. So the moment that temple is built, the temple is ready, and where that temple will be, incidentally, is where the Al-Aqsa Mosque is. And that is where the problem will come from. The moment that mosque is demolished, the moment that mosque is tampered with, the entire country, the entire world will be in it, because the entire Middle East will be thrown into the focus now will be on it full time. It will become a jihad war against Israel. Because that same spot is the spot where the temple, where Jesus will reign from. That is where the temple will be situated. The materials are ready, they have prepared everything or whatever, but they are yet to start the building. Because where they are supposed to situate that building, locate that building, is on that Al-Aqsa Mosque, where the Al-Aqsa Mosque is situated now. And Jordan, I think Jordan is the country in administrating, that is in charge of the administration of that mosque. And so that is just it. So all these things are just a battle between the devil and our Lord Jesus Christ. That's just it. Barrister, so that is just it. I don't think I don't know if you have further thoughts to express. We are all ears. We are listening to you. If you have any further thought to express as from your own angle or from my own angle, yeah, what's your opinion?
Now, my opinion is just what I have said before. You have taken the spiritual angle. I was looking at history, facts on the ground, and other things. And I will still repeat, and say again that those who are pressurizing Israel to give up land, to allow a two-state solution as the solution to the crisis, should focus their attention on pressurizing the Palestinians and the Arabs to accept Israel. Because without that, at the physical level, the problem cannot be solved. Simple.
You are absolutely right. Unfortunately, that what you just that advice can never. People have proffered this advice in the past, has offered this advice in the past. They will never, because, like I said, the foundation is a problem, and that is just it. And these two-state solution, no country will accept that. Look, the moment what you are telling me is two-state solution, you give Palestine nationhood, then what happens? Of course, when they are independent nation, it means that Israel will no longer have anything, any power over them. That means Iran now, they will now be able to amass war arsenals, including chemical weapons. So it means that their borders now will be so open to Iran bringing in, including chemical weapons, because they are so bent on wiping up. They would use that. If it is, they can use that. They can use nuclear weapons against Israel. They will do that. It means that of course, giving Palestine a national status, you are technically, Israel is technically asking for their literal wipe off the map. That does it true, because at that juncture, as a country, they are sovereign, they are independent, they can do whatever they want, their borders are controlled by them. So what comes into the country will be controlled by them. And that is just the truth. So that means that they will now bring in all war apparatus, everything. In fact, the worst, including chemical or biological, biological is even worse than it's even worse than the nuclear weapons, in my own judgment, because biological weapon is something that will just kill you slowly. The moment it's given, it's a slow killer. Something that will eventually eliminate you, will eventually kill you, but it will kill. It is slow. It will first of all start destroying all the organs in your body or whatever, attacking the organs while you die slowly. It's a painful death. So they will use, including in fact, I know they will even prefer to use biological weapons. The way they hate the Jews, they would rather use biological weapon than the weapon that will just kill them one time. And so that is just, it is not possible. Like, people should stop Even all the people who are even profiling or offering such, they know that it will not happen. Israel will never accept this two-state solution. And so that is just it. It's unfortunate, very, very unfortunate. Thank you so much, Barrister. Thank you for enlightening us, taking us back history lane. Some of the stuff you said, some of them I didn't know until today. So I have learned some stuff from your analysis, and I hope you viewers, you have learned, you've learned so much from this analysis. Even as I thank you for joining us up to this end of this program. Once again, this is called JIBRIN Angle on Owileke TV. This is what we do. If you enjoy this, if you like what you just watched, please subscribe so that you can stay in touch with us whenever we have program. This program is usually it's a weekly program. So every Saturday, we have this program. So you can always set on your notification for you to be notified when we upload our contents. So subscribe, turn on your notification bell, like, and make comments. Again, welcome comments. We respond to comments. Excuse me. You can join us in this conversation. You don't have to be on air with us. Just can join us in this conversation by sending us messages. Send your comments. Make your input on our comment section, and give your own opinion. Let's dialogue. Let's talk about it. I think that is it. So, Barrister, thank you so very much once again for joining us. Thank you for honoring us, using your presence to honor us. We appreciate your time. We appreciate all the resources that you have been putting in on this show.
Thank you.
God bless you. And so, viewers, we are signing off, and we hope you join us next time. God bless you.